Court does call the cases of the people of the state of Michigan versus Jeffrey Wayne Bloom. There are two cases. I will call both of them 22 FB 1278, 22 FB 1276. Council, state your appearances.
Morning, RG. We have Jeffrey Bloom on both matters.
And Amy Reiser, bring on behalf of the people on both matters.
Before, and let's, can you let Arnett know to bring Mr. Bloom in through the signal, please?
Come out of the window, Mr. Bloom. Okay, you gotta let them know that.
We have called the case of the people versus Bloom. I had apprised counsel previously that I had reconsidered based upon the defense counsel's motion to allow Mr. Bloom back into the courtroom this morning, and that's where we were preparing. This morning, my office received an indication that Mr. Bloom had been seriously acting out, making claims of conspiracies and whatever he may want to say, but also then began to threaten jail staff. And he said, and it is reported that he stated that when he is taken into the courtroom this morning that he was going to try and disarm an officer, aside from his threats to assault officers and throw feces on them. So I made the decision early this morning that he would not be brought up to the courtroom, and then would inform counsel of that decision specifically and why I made that decision on the record. There is, I will say, also some difficulty. I mean, we can proceed, Mr. Killewald, but there, and he can hear these proceedings. So, I mean, I am at this point ready to proceed, but I don't know what your feelings on it are, sir.
Well, Your Honor, since the last hearing, I've seen Jeff a couple of times. I saw him last night for over an hour. I had not anticipated this at all. I had anticipated him being here. Your Honor, I don't minimize anybody threatening anything, but sometimes people say things that just.
You know what, Mr. Killewald, if you want to go there, and I'll let you make the record, but I take those threats very seriously.
And again, I'm not minimizing that, Your Honor. All I'm saying is, would you just please give him a chance this morning to sit here?
Under these circumstances, absolutely not. You were the one that kept repeating to this court that somehow or another he had been rehabilitated, that he would be able to conduct himself. And then when he's down there, he's making threats, not only to those officers down there, but he's making threats about what he intends to do in the courtroom. And so quite frankly, and you know, the folks that would be bringing him up and the jail staff and everything, I have an absolute confidence in. But to make a threat that he is going to disarm an officer in this courtroom, it would be absolutely irresponsible of me to bring him up. He has already laid out what he wishes to do.
This is a conspiracy, Your Honor. It's not true.
Your Honor, I assume if I ask for an adjournment for a week or so I could go back and talk to him and figure out what's going on, would the court grant that, or?
I haven't heard from the people. I mean, they have their witnesses here, and
We would object to any adjournment, and are ready to proceed to conclude the proceedings today. If the defendant is present by Zoom and he can clearly hear us and can see the proceedings. And I don't feel safe having him brought in the courtroom either. So we're ready to proceed. I do not want to adjourn. the matter.
I'll leave to your discretion, Your Honor.
If you wanted an opportunity, Mr. Killawall, to speak to him prior to beginning, I certainly would afford that. I am disinclined to adjourn the matter.
Would they bring you up to one of the waiting rooms? Do I have to go down to the jail?
Either you have to go down to the jail or you would have to, you would have to have some device to sign on to, and I could put you into a breakout room with either way you'd like to do it.
Well, I have Zoom capabilities, so if I can get a number, I'll just.
It's the same one you use every Thursday coming here. But if you sign into here, and then I can put both of you into a breakout room and you can go into.
Do you have the link up or do you need it? Do you have the judge's link or do you need it?
I know it's 462 and I know it's 142022, but I forgot the rest. What is it mean?
Ms. Tang, is there any way that you could send a link to this courtroom to Mr. Killawall?
Yes, Judge, I'll do that right now.
Thank you.
That's crazy. Who's behind that? Who's behind saying some crap like that? That's crazy.
We just sent it to your email. Oh,
Good morning, Your Honor. I'm sorry I haven't even been able to say good morning. Apparently you can't hear.
You can.
You can't hear me. You would acknowledge me. Wouldn't you acknowledge me? Can you find out if I'm being heard? You're the court officer. I'm asking you, can you find out if I'm being heard? Or are you going to violate my rights too?
you signed in, Mr. Killawall.
I just did, but nothing's happening.
Is he? He's not in our waiting room.
Are you going to find out? I'm going to write a grievance on you, and I'm telling you right now, I'm going to light you up big time. If I'm not able to at least address the court and say good morning, Your Honor. I don't know, what am I supposed to do? This is crap. I don't understand this. I'm being railroaded. That's what it is. I understand. The judge argued loudly. Look, I have a piece of paper right here. Why would I all of a sudden, the day before court,
He's going to have to step out, but why? I don't see him in the waiting room yet.
why would I all of a sudden, the day before court, make threats to disarm an officer? How the hell I'm going to be shackled and handcuffed? I'm 150 pounds. How am I going to do that? I'm a weakling. I'm an old man. I'm an old man.
You should get, oh, okay, there he is. So you can throw Mr. Bloom and Mr. Killawall into the waiting. And while they had their conference in the waiting room, we can go off record. 14A stands in recess.
You cannot do this. It's illegal.
Your Honor, I got Mr. Bloom for you.
Back on the record in the case of the People's State of Michigan versus Jeffrey Bloom, there has been, after the initial indication to counsel that I wasn't going to bring the defendant up in my statements as to why, that he was going to be in a remote location, the Washington County Jail, during the course of his preliminary examination. I have and will indicate that there's been a request by Mr. Killawall to adjourn the matter. In looking at scheduling, but particularly for, as the prosecutor's office, or Ms. Reiser has a number of things that are going. And next week, in the next few weeks, in trying to get this done, but also balancing that against the sort of change in how Mr. Killawall may have to communicate with Mr. Bloom. The court has decided to adjourn the matter, but it will be a very brief adjournment so that Mr. Killawall and Mr. Bloom can go through their logistics of communication and the like. So I'm adjourning it to this Thursday, November 10th. I'm adjourning it to 2 o'clock. The understanding, however, is this, that Ms. Reiser has a number of different things before Judge O'Brien that day, which she needs to conduct by Zoom. The court will allow whatever leeway is necessary to make sure she can conclude those matters because she's here ready to go today. And so whatever time that means, once she's done, whatever time that means we have to start after 2 o'clock, we will. She can coordinate with civilian witnesses or her witnesses to make sure that they're here and not sitting in the courthouse wasting their time. I don't expect that we will begin right at 2 o'clock. I also understand Mr. Killawall has some other matters before Judge O'Brien. We will just go when all of that is concluded. There is one other issue regarding the witness that is currently incarcerated at the Washington County Jail. There was a request that she be able to appear via Zoom regarding her testimony. Having heard from both sides on that, she'll need to appear in person, and we'll have to figure out a way that she's brought up. I will, although it's Judge Washington's decision and the jail's decision, she has a matter before Judge Washington on that day. And I will be sending a message to Judge Washington asking that she not, if there was a PR granted, that she not be released until the conclusion of her testimony in this case. I think I have covered everything.
And I would just indicate briefly, General, that we did take a recess this week after the information regarding
Hold on. Okay, go ahead, Ms. Rose.
right. We did take, after the information provided to counsel and myself about Mr. Bloom threatening the corrections officers and making statements to disarm them. Your Honor put that on the record regarding that Mr. Bloom would not be brought into the courtroom. At Mr. Bloom's insistence and demanding and Mr. Killawall's request, we did take about a 45-minute recess so Mr. Killawall could go down to Mr. Bloom and get the questions that he had prepared. So it's my understanding that he did meet with Mr. Bloom again today, did receive those questions, and now is requesting an additional adjournment for these extra days. I did place my objection on the record. We're ready to proceed and would like to conclude this matter. And he will not be brought into the courtroom. And I also indicated for Mr. Killawall and for Your Honor that I believe the testimony, in addition to the information we learned from the corrections officers this morning, the R&O testimony in 22 FB 1276 would involve what is referred to in the business as suicide by cop. When the officers went to arrest him after the assault and sexual assault, he was acting as if he had a gun or something behind his.
Your Honor, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but that that's an argument for your honor to hear. I mean, we've got the adjournment of the cases. I don't understand why we're making these arguments.
And I'm not making an argument, I'm placing it on the record. When Mr. Killawall comes back on Thursday and wants his client back in the courtroom again for the 4th or 5th time, I think it is a serious safety concern that he should not be brought into the courtroom. That the facts of the case, this is what I anticipated that it will show.
Just for the record, again, I met with my client this morning. He claims he had an asthma attack, but that was not properly addressed. He got irritated. He tells me he never made any threats to the officer.
Well, okay.
And just,
And all of that's fine. I want to make it very clear, and I did to counsel at the bench, regardless of, and certainly those indications and arguments can be taken into account. The court has taken them into account. Under no circumstances, given what we've been through in this case, given what Mr. Bloom himself has done, and is he going to be permitted to be in the courtroom during the course of this hearing? He will participate via Zoom. And there will be adequate facilities for him to be able to participate in that manner. He has forfeited the right to be here. And that's this, on that issue, that's this court's final ruling. So I'm not entertaining anything else regarding it.
thank you. I assume Mr. Bloom heard this. Yeah, okay.
Yes, he's there,
I understand.
but he also pretends he can't hear like he did the last time. So I assume he can.
I will
Alrighty.
go to the jail and inform him of what we're doing on Thursday.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you.
14A stands in recess. And good afternoon. Court does call the case of the people versus Tristan Cash.
Caitlin Kirby on behalf of the people.
That's a good way to start.
Your Honor, I think.
And I just started to talk. You'd think I haven't done Zoom before.
It's like that every day with you, Gallagher.